All the Arcade1up Time Crisis cabinet details have been revealed, so now the question still remains, is it worth that big price tag? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to dig into that question. Is the Time Crisis cabinet worth $750? This has been a debate raging pretty much since the inception of Arcade1up. Ever since they moved past that $299 price tag, the peasant offerings that they had with no risers and no lip marquees. Once we've gone beyond that, that has been the battle raging with the community. Every time they do something that's an improvement, is it really worth the price tag that they associate with it? But now we're talking about the big package, the big deal. This is a big number, no matter which way you slice it. Now, few products from Arcade1up but actually have gone beyond the $749 price tag. We're talking about Pro Cabs, we're talking about Infinity game tables. But in the 3/4 scale cabinet market, there have been very, very few cabinets that have actually hit $749. And now that we've seen everything that there is to see about this, that's where we're at. That's the question that I'm asking myself, and it's probably the question you're asking yourself. Is it really worth $749? So let's talk about the biggest development, the last piece of the puzzle for me to fit in and really decide if this is going to really push the needle for me to say that, okay, it's worth $749, was the guns themselves. What's going on inside those guns? Now, overall, the outside of the cabinet, you know what you're getting. It is definitely a good-looking cabinet, I'll give it that. But the guts is where it really matters, especially with the guns and the amount of abuse that they can take. Now, with the T2 guns, you had basically the sensor up front, the camera, that PCB that was associated with that, and then you also had a separate little PCB inside, and then a motor that drove the rat-a-tat-tat, the fully automatic noise inside the gun. So there was stuff inside. Still wasn't a very heavy gun. Still wasn't, super arcade accurate, but at the end of the day, there was things going on inside that sort of justified the cost, some of the cost. But once we got to look inside the guns, thanks to B over at Kong's R Us, he did a video live stream I was a part of, had a pleasure of being a part of that live stream, and we got to see what's going on inside. And basically, what I saw is that they've stripped cost out of these guns. So right off the bat, in my opinion, this is a much cheaper gun to produce. First off, they've obviously had to retain the camera for the send and light gun technology. That's there, obviously. They did add a little small plate in the handle to kind of give it, or the grip to give it maybe a little bit more weight, but there's not enough really to kind of justify. It's not going to be as much as the weights that we've added in some of our modifying of our T2 and Big Buck Hunter cabinets. But then they also removed the motorized rat-a-tat-tat function, the fully automatic function that's not there, and which that would have been really nice on Steel Gunner. But for Time Crisis, I get it. And Time Crisis being the marquee title, okay, I get it. You're not going to have that as part of the functionality. But the recoil action is just mechanical. It's just plastic. It's plastic gears. Are those things going to hold up? Are they going to last? Only time will tell. But at the end of the day, you've stripped cost out of the guns. So right off the bat, in my opinion, the guns are much cheaper to produce. And I got to tell you, I'm really not impressed with that recoil action at all. You can say that they were stripping costs. They were trying to bring an affordable cabinet to market. And you could say that, you could definitely say that. If we were, way less than $749, even way less than $699, some of these sins could have been forgivable. But I think for me, right off the bat, the conversation of the guns make this more expensive. The guns are driving the price of this cabinet. I'm going to go ahead and have to disagree with you. I say, I give you an emphatic hell no. Now, some of you have also said in my comment section and in the comment sections of all the Facebook and social media groups, but T2 was $699. Well, yes, T2 was $699. T2 only had one game, and that was a huge controversy back in the day. But I was a big fan of the game, and so I was one of the few people that were, of questionable intelligence. I picked that game up for $699. Now, if you go all the way back to my review, which took place a year and a half ago, February of 2022, I did my review and I told you while I enjoyed the cabinet, it was not worth the cost of $699. Now let's talk about that $749 club. It's an exclusive club. There's just a few members, and not all those members were exclusive to that $749 club. Now remember, many people also say, but Fox, X-Men right now is $749. But remember, X-Men was not always $749. Originally, there was only one retailer that had it listed at $749, and that was Target. Everybody else was lower than it. Everybody else was $699, just like the other cabinets. But for some reason, X-Men was an outlier. I think really it was because Disney got involved and there were some licensing issues and there were some other things to consider, some other factors to consider. At the time, I believe there was also a Fox-Disney merger going on that maybe some of the reasons why that price was artificially inflated. But at the end of the day, that cabinet was not worth anything more than the other two Konami cabinets that were also released at the same time, and they retailed initially for $699. So that $50, that's just artificial. That doesn't really have any place in reality. Also, another member of that $749 club is going to be the pinball machines that were not originally $749. Originally, you have to remember the original prices for these virtual pinball machines from Arcade1up were $549 and $599. That was much, much cheaper back in the day. And then because of whatever, they just artificially inflated the cost, and you saw a $150 to $200 price jump depending on what you paid for that original V-Pin. So that was an artificial increase in price. That was never the true value of the product. And while you may want to look back into the past to try to justify the current cost of Time Crisis, let's not look in the past. Let's just look at the here and now. Why is it worth $150 more than Big Buck Deluxe? Big Buck Deluxe is the only other deluxe cabinet that's also a shooter. It does have 4 games. It does have 2 light guns with shotgun pump action. It does not have the lit marquee, and I understand that is a big factor for sure. It's definitely a glaring omission, and I think it shouldn't have been there. But it's also $150 less than Time Crisis. Now, do you think that is worth it? Do you think that equals the $150 deduction? And my last point, and this may be the biggest point to anybody on the fence. First off, FOMO is not real. Push that away. Get that out of your psyche. Don't listen to it. It's evil. It's bad. That all to the side. If you really want this cabinet, and I see why you want this cabinet, there's a lot of reasons to like this cabinet. It's probably one of the better, if not the best looking cabinet Arcade1up has ever produced. But if that price tag is still not getting you there, if it's a little bit cost prohibitive, remember, whenever these things go on sale, they go on a real sale. It's very rare to see these things on sale for $50. Usually, when they go on sale, it's a $100 sale minimum. I mean, look at everything you can see currently right now. It's $100 off. All right, so as you can see, there are a ton of things to consider when you're thinking about making that Arcade1up purchase, especially when the price point is above $499. Now, at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to do with your money. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to buy or not buy this cabinet. That's up for you to decide. But as for me, my personal decision, I don't think there's any way in hell this cabinet is worth $749, especially when you consider that there's nothing new going on under the hood. It's the same 17-inch BOE monitor we've seen before. It's the same PCB running the same Namco System 22 emulator in the Ridge Racer cabinet. And the guns, in my opinion, are just made cheaper. There's nothing new. There's nothing exotic going on inside that gun to justify a price hike above the T2 cabinet. But anyway, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think about this in the comments section below. Thank you so much for stopping by, checking out the channel. You have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.